Hello there, Seraphim 17 once again. This is my Dark Souls 2 walkthrough. We're back in Majula.
To see light.
What will happen in this guide, for the people who don't know how I usually do this kind of thing, is I generally don't show you the upgrading, the buying, the equipping, those kind of processes, so I'm going to speed them up in this as best I can. I'm going to use the commentary to convey what I'm doing, so that people understand how to make the build I'm going for. So at the beginning of this walkthrough, I mentioned picking this class so I could two-hand the mace, which was an error on my point. You can two-hand this mace easily with decent amounts of strength, but the reason I picked it is because when you have 15 strength, I think it starts also with 10 dex or 11 dex. If I put 5 points, or even it might even be 3 points into strength, I can dual wield maces, and that is the reason why I've picked this particular class to do that. And what I'm going to be doing in the stuff that I show you and the stuff that I don't show you, because I won't show you every time I upgrade things, is I'm going to be building my character towards the dual maces and towards having intelligence and faith. The faith and intelligence you're going to need is enough to use the Great Resonance spell, Great Resonance Soul, which is, I think it's 16 or 18 intelligence and 26 faith. It could be slightly less, but if you go, 20, 30 in that department, you can go even higher if you want to have it scale better. You will have enough to do what I want to do, and you'll notice this is the dual wielding moveset. These are the moves you're going to see me using, and that's the reason why we've done this. I'm also going to be using every Titanite shard I can find to upgrade my maces to get them strong as I can. And when I have the hexes that I need, we will then have the ability to crush the game. Quite literally. But something to bear in mind with Dark. Dark is an interesting stat. It's kind of like the quality stat of magic, where you need both intelligence and faith for it to be effective. But it works in a very similar way to the relationship between endurance and adaptability, where whichever stat is lowest will add the most benefit to the stat increases when you level them up. So the way to think when it comes to getting dark bonuses, because the dark is what you want for obviously the hexes, because the dark spells, is you want to always have it so that you're leveling the stat that's lower towards the high stat, because that's going to give you the most benefit on dark. So an example of this would be, if you have 30 faith and you have 25 intelligence, if you put 1 into faith, although it's higher, you will generally get no benefit or close to 0 boost in dark damage. If you put that 1 point into intelligence, I guarantee you will get 3 to 4 points of dark bonus damage. And that is how you need to bear in mind how this works. And that is how you're going to get the most damage and just the most efficiency out of your build, if that's what you're going for. A couple of other things to bear in mind to maximize damage on this kind of build. Because we're using hexes, there are a certain amount of equipment that will boost the damage of them through various means. If you wear any of the headpieces that come from spellcasters, they all have hidden effects where they'll increase intelligence and faith and casting speed. The only way to tell which ones do what is literally to check them when you look at your stats when you equip them, and as opposed to what your stats were before. The noticeable ones are the Hexa Hood, the Saints Hood, the Black Hood from Strayed, and the King's Crown. The King's Crown gives you the biggest bonus. It gives you +3 to faith, +3 to intelligence, and it also improves your casting speed. But of course you have to kill Vendrick, so you get it very late. Another thing to bear in mind is you can infuse a talisman. So if you have a talisman that you're going to use that you like...
Have you heard of the undead? The longer I am here, the more madness I discover.
You can then boost its dark damage by infusing it with a Dark Knight Stone, and that will give you an extra ampage on your output. But we're in Lost Bastille, as you just saw from the little vignette, and this is one of the more challenging areas of the game, and one of the more interesting ones, because it's very big, and I like it for that fact alone. But the cool thing is, because we're so powerful, we're going to have no trouble with this area thanks to the dual maces. The dual maces can afford us so much damage output, it really makes a lot of this very trivial. But when you come over to this chest, it's got an antiquated key in it, and it's got a silver serpent ring of covetous goodness, which is going to help you get more souls, if that's your thing. And because I don't have many rings, I'm going to pop it on. Another thing before people ask, which everybody undoubtedly will, I do not use the Ring of Restoration. It has nothing to do with whether or not I think it's an effective ring. It has everything to do with the fact I don't want regenerating life. It's just a personal preference. But I took a big ol' hit to the face right then. The cool thing about this enemy is the L1, which is the double hit swing. It's so damaging, and it crushes a lot of poise, that you can just spam that move if you don't want to get fancy, or you don't want to, you know, put any effort in, because it's just so damn effective. The left trigger will drain a lot of stamina, but it will also do massive poise crush because you're hitting them 3 times. And these clubs have 25 poise... No, sorry. I think they have 30 of these ones. It's been a while since I've used them now, so I'm going to be giving wrong information. It's either 25 or it's 30. I think it's 25. So, you know, 3 times 25 is getting really up there when it comes to the poise. And it's even better if you've got the stone ring on. And there's not that many enemies in the game, a couple of bosses aside, that can take that kind of poise damage. And the enemies that do take that kind of poise damage are kind of bullshitty enemies anyway. I'm looking at the Lost Sinner for that. Barely any armor, massive poise. Come on, FromSoft, doesn't even make sense. But there goes the big fella. But another way to boost your dark output, if that's your thing, is you can obviously wear the rings that increase both intelligence and faith by 5, which you purchase for 28,000 souls off the vendors who sell them. They will increase it. And then lastly, you can equip the Covenant ring for the Covenant of the Dark, which will give you a damage boost to your spells by draining a little bit of your life, which the boost isn't massive, and neither is the life it takes off, so it's definitely worth equipping if you want to just get every single bit of damage buff you can. Which is not all that important, but it is useful. So this barrel here, if you roll it into the wall and it blows up, it will unveil a bonfire. If you mess it up like I did, because it doesn't have a set path and it can fuck up every so often, you'll have to set it off yourself. If you have flame arrows, you can fire those at it. If you have a flame sword, you can hit that. If you hit the ground and spark near it, that will blow it up. All you need to do is make sure it's intact and near that wall, and you'll be able to do what I just did. And it's also going to unveil the premier blacksmith of the game, which is a very American way of saying premier, which I don't normally do, but there you go. I've been watching a lot of fucking MasterChef US, and it's affecting my dialect apparently. But in here is Macduff, and Macduff is from Yorkshire, and he likes flame. So all he's going to do is tell you about flame all the time, and he wants an ember. And the ember is pretty late game unless you know how to get there. And we're going to get there quite early because it's all about the power and getting you through the game with, you know, comfortability. So the reason we came here was to get in that room just then. We came here to get all those Titanite shards, all the goodies in this room. And you'll notice if you light the brazier, or the troche, or whatever you call it, next to him, it will move him off this chest, and inside this chest is some twinkling Titanite and a Craftsman Hammer. And now that we've done this, you can go and kill the Ruin Sentinels and move towards the Sinner should you choose to, but because I know a lot of people struggle with that fight, I'm going to put it off a little bit until we're a little bit stronger, so if you're not confident, you can have a little bit more confidence in your equipment. And I have 1+4 mace and 1+3 mace, which I've then increased to +4 and +5. So our maces are a little bit halfway close to being exactly where we need them to be. We're not going to be using any scaling traditionally off of the stats from them, because the standard scaling is terrible in this game. If you want to really get a maximum damage output, you want to infuse them with an element. And I don't think I do that in this playthrough for one reason, and that reason is there's a couple of bosses that are defensive against dark, which would be the element I would infuse them with, and Nishandra especially is dark defensive. And for her, we're going to be using hexes anyway, because the hexes are wickedly powerful. But as you can see, we're now making our way towards Hyde's Tower of Flame. I just passed up the opportunity to pick up a shield if you're still lacking one and you'd like one. But now that we have the dual maces, there's really no excuse to be shielding, because you're going to be so damn ruthless with these weapons that nothing's going to stand much of a chance. that is the end of the video, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. So thank you for watching, and you take care now.